Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, and the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's 8 o'clock. It's Wednesday. It is the 10th of December, 2025. You're listening to The Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Uh-oh, hold on. I got to fix something. Just realized how bald I was. I love how many people are first in the chat room tonight. Mission Ready Men was technically first outside of me. Canada Heavy Hall was the first true listener. In other words, he doesn't host. River Common Sense was thirst. Nope, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, we'll go with it anyhow. And then, of course, you have BZ and others starting to roll in the chat room. If you want to get into the chat room, kick it back and forth with some of the other listeners. Maybe give your little opinions. Maybe make fun of me so I can see it. Whatever. Doesn't matter. You can go to YouTube, search up SHI Media, click the little live button. There'll be a circle around the little Patriot. You can click on him. This Patriot right here, the one that's down the corner. That dude. You just click on him. You get into this live show, and the chat's right there. You can be part of it. You know who gave me the hat by the amount of compliments it's getting in the chat room, which I think is kind of funny. It's like, damn, that looks good on you. I'm glad I got that for you. You know why that looks good on you? I got that for you. Hey, I got that for you, and now it looks good on you. Of course, I'm wearing the BZ Saloon hat. I couldn't find a hat. I wore Reaver Common Sense Monday night. Got to represent the team. Got a lot to talk about. The NDAA, National Defense. How much money is it? Well, let's start off with Representative Bruchette telling us about it, because it's worse than you think.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett just leaving the House floor. Big vote tonight was the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, and it was $900.6 billion. There's money in there for, of course, Ukraine, $800 million total, and some other things. Money in there for recognizing an Indian tribe out of North Carolina. Has nothing to do with national defense. Syria,
It just depends.
money, Iraq.
They're going to be on the
Look,
hours.
we just got to quit this stuff. America's got to start paying attention. And the Ukraine stuff's not even, Trump didn't even ask for that. You've got the war pimps that push for this stuff, and they always will tell you, it's
that.
The Burchett, man, they're going to spend all that money here buying those missiles. You know, is that what we are basing our votes on, is they're going to buy implements to kill other people on? I mean, I'm all for getting rid of our enemies, but this is just too much. It's way too much. And things are just not what they appear. We need to wake up.
I really like Representative Burchett. I love his videos that he does like this. I'm going to play another one later. And I like it because it is very matter of fact, and it feels, he gives me the feeling like he just left Congress and saddled up to the bar next to me to bitch about his day at work. Whenever he does those videos, that's the feeling I get. And I liked him. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a pretty straight shooter. Cosmic Bard was with us in the chat room over at SHR Media, over at YouTube rather, and then he had to go refill his cocktail. So who knows if we'll get him back. He should get a refueling team like BZ has, and then he could just stay in his chair like the rotund one does. So let's dig in a little bit more into the NDAA. Let's look at some of the defense spending that is not so much defense spending. And look, I get that a lot of this you can twist into defense spending under the guise of, well, if we don't arm them, then it's going to be us having to fight it, and it's an extension of our national defense. Bullshit, right? I know all of them arguments. I know all that bullshit. But some of this, and when we talk on this show and others about omnibus bills and pork and all this other stuff, and it's not that bad, of course, each side defends their pork in a bill. I get that. I'm not saying one side's better than the other there. But this is the reason why we need standalone bills. End of discussion. This is the reason. This is what was jammed into that bill. Ukraine assistance and replenishment rules, not even asked for. Iraqi security force funding, because why? Israel cooperative missile defense programs. Indo-Pacific foreign partnership funding. I'm going to say that one again. Indo-Pacific foreign partner funding. European deterrence initiative expansion. Don't we have NATO for that? Africa, and we'll have the NATO conversation another night before everyone's like, we need to get out of NATO. I get it. It's an old concept. I get it, but that's not where I'm at right now. Africa Pacific Island security funds. Okay. Tribal environmental remediation, which, by the way, I think it was George Washington who said, if we're going to defend this great land, the first thing that we need is tribal environmental remediation. I'm almost positive that was in his writings. Water systems and infrastructure. That's an infrastructure thing. Didn't Biden pass this tremendous infrastructure bill that was supposed to fix all that? And yet we need more money for it. Cultural preservation. Well, why the fuck not? And nothing says natural defense like cultural preservation. Wildlife and habitat projects. The only way, look, if they train bears to attack the enemy and we kept them caged in large cages, we could be outside, and we strategically place them throughout different areas, then the wildlife and habitat protection might be acceptable. Energy and mineral developments. Again, that's going to be one of those things where they say, well, we need that to fight. So it's kind of hand in hand. Standalone bill. After and but it gets better, folks. That's why I took a sip of my drink. Environmental and climate projects. PFAS cleanup outside military bases. Okay, that one's kind of close. And we know of a lot of Camp Lejeune type issues that have happened at other bases. It's not defense, but at least it's military adjacent. Civilian water infrastructure. Again, Biden had an infrastructure bill. Energy grid programs not tied to defense. Climate regulations for vehicle fleets. Well, of course. Why shouldn't we dump all that money? Why don't we need climate regulation for vehicle fleets? Environmental impact studies. Yes, that is super important. Labor union protections, which of course, was it Admiral Halsey who said if we're going to win the war in the Pacific, we need labor union protections? I believe it was. Civilian healthcare expansions. Why is healthcare? We're about to have a humongous fucking battle over healthcare. Why is it in here? DEI mandates. Didn't we just spend the last year saying we need to get DEI out of fucking everything? Family service reforms, as long as it's if that has to do with service members of family, okay, at least it's close. Administrative reporting rules, animal welfare and agriculture, working dog transport rules. Working dog transport rules. Now, look, I'm a huge fan of canines and working dogs. Absolutely love them. Absolutely think they should be taken care of. Yes, that should be its own bill. And I'll tell you too, most handlers feel the same way and take care of their dogs anyhow. Kennel standards, thank goodness that's going to be in the Defense Act. Animal evacuation procedures, livestock related mandates, and more. Now, this is the stuff that I'm going to get technical because a lot of our defense equipment is our technical items. And I want you to stick with me. If I start talking about maybe a certain missile or something or some sort of munition that you don't understand, just throw it in chat and I'll try to explain it a little better. Here's the first one: museum approvals, because we need to be approving museums through the fucking NDAA, federal building renamings. Transportation projects, again, massive infrastructure bill we're told we're going to save us under Biden. And of course, restroom access rules, because a male and a female sign and just not enough. We got to put it in a bill, a national defense spending bill. State Department provisions. Again, I'm pretty sure the State Department has its own budget. Coast Guard items not tied to defense. And okay, I'll give you that. If the Coast Guard needs it, and even if it's not a specific defense spending thing, I can be malleable on that one. Just show me what it is, right? I mean, if they need, I don't know, if they need medical training or whatever, I mean, at least you're like in a uniformed branch now. Intelligence administrative authorities could not tell you what the fuck that means. Public health biodefense programs. Okay, I'm pretty sure we have a civil defense budget or something. Is it even called civil defense anymore? What is it? Emergency management now? FEMA, all that stuff. Did I just call it civil defense? Should I get under my desk? Education programs not at all related to the service. It's the National Distraction Appropriations Act. It is. It's foreign aid. It's everything else. It's everything else but what it should be spent. Look, I understand people say our defense budget's way too big. Well, it's way too big because they don't talk about the bullshit that gets crammed inside of bills like this. And yeah, maybe we are spending too much on defense, but we won't actually know it until we start passing single issue, single item bills. I mean, there's no other way. Mission Ready Men said it best. Yeah, standalone bills and term limits and tort reform. If you know those three things in this country, tomorrow, we're already going to be on our path to a much better place. Now, look, I want our troops to have everything they need to defend this land, because we know there are threats, foreign and domestic, that are lurking and waiting. We know that there's a potential all the time of our troops being put in harm's way. We know our troops need to be trained. They need to be the best that they could possibly be. They need the funding for that. They need health care. They need all of that. But they don't need museum approvals. I don't care if it's a war museum. That falls under history. That's not part of the defense. And I don't know why more people aren't losing their shit about stuff like this, because I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm going to make a little adjustment here. You're welcome. It's ridiculous to me what we will still continue to spend money on. Look, Elon Musk said this week that Doge was kind of successful or something to that effect. And he didn't accomplish what he wanted to, and he wasn't allowed to. And a lot of people said that's because he was starting to touch buttons where even people in power didn't have the power anymore, and they were told to stop. And I look, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not. We know the NDAA is the absolute biggest black money taxpayer donation that you're going to see next to USAID, right? I'm sure none of this money would go to a museum approval of transportation projects or federal building renamings. I'm sure it'll go to some sort of DARPA program, some sort of dark money program. And the only way we're going to suss that out and actually start seeing where our money is going is standalone bills and the ability to track taxpayer dollars. That would be huge, right? And every single thing next to immigration in this country comes back to the economy and budget. Those are the biggest issues going. What our national debt is and what are we getting for the amount of money that we're spending. Now, I'm going to pull this up. I know BZ usually shares this. Oh, don't know what I did there. Ah, there it is. But I'm going to share it just tonight. This is the U.S. debt clock. $38 trillion in debt. That is $111,000, almost $112,000 per person. And we are currently talking about funding museums and the NDAA. Congress constantly says, I don't understand why our approval ratings are lower than rectal thermometry. I don't understand why anybody doesn't like us. I don't understand why we can't connect with the regular people. And this is why, when a bill like this gets rolled out and you start seeing all of this bullshit, can you imagine any other job? If you've ever made a budget for work, right? If you're ever responsible for a budget at work, and let's say your budget annually is, I don't know, $75,000 for your department, just a number. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this year it's going to be $85,000. Okay, well, show us where the other $10,000 is. And you're like, well, you know, the company down the hall, they were going to have a birthday party and we kind of wanted to help. So that's a couple $1,000s right there. Oh, wait, what? Oh, yeah. And there's also Bill's car. Is it his company car? No, but he wanted to change the color of the interior and we thought we'd help him out. Well, why are we paying for Bill's car? That's part of what Bill gets as part of his salary. He can fix that. It's Bill's car. Yeah, we're just, it's just in the budget. So just give it to us. It's the same idea. You're making ridiculous, and it's the Defense Spending Act, right? It's a very important bill. It decides what our military has and doesn't have. We can't fuck around with that. And people should not accept that to be something that can be fucked around with. You're going to get off your ass and start making phone calls to your representatives and your senators. We need to keep the pressure on. Too many conservatives, once Trump got in office, just said, that was enough. No, keep the screws to all of them. They work for us. That's our money that they're trying to slam into a bill about defense to pay for transportation project and restroom access rules. It makes no sense. It should not be allowed. It should never have been allowed. But this is where we are. This is where, Bert on my team needed a new refrigerator, so I gave him taxpayer money. Yeah, BZ, that's exactly a great example. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And people, and I get it. Like the first couple months after an election, I get, well, everybody just kind of step back a little bit, right? But we're back to the point where government's starting to do stupid ass shit and absolutely nobody's paying attention to it. Is the font on your website Calibri? You should fix that. $2 billion for a name change. Yeah, I know. I appreciate that, DS, over on Facebook. Thank you very much. But this is the problem that we, the people, have created for ourselves. They know the first year after an election, so many people have checked out. Look at all the special elections that have happened and the low turnout that conservatives have had. We have to stop being complacent, and we have to keep going until Congress realizes they can no longer be complacent and they can no longer just jam through shit ad nauseum that's not needed, hoping we'll all turn a blind eye. Be back after this.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Welcome back to the Edge of Liberty Radio on the SHI Media Network. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Please, wherever you're watching from, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Like the individual episode, not just the network. It helps quite a bit with the algorithm, who is always just trying to choke us out, like some sort of weird BDSM thing with technology. We're up to, I think it's 683 subscribers on YouTube. Still hoping to hit that 700 mark by the end of the year. That'd be fantastic. You can follow me on X, the number 2 against tyranny. Now, I promised you more Tim Burchett. Everyone loves Tim. But I had a question that's going to lead. Oh, 687, I'm being told. Well, thank you to all of our new followers. 687, that's fantastic. Sweet, I'll take it. I get a question I got to ask you, and this is another serious question. It kind of ties into the last segment. But why the hell? Now, let me rephrase that. That wasn't strong enough. Why the fuck are we still funding the Taliban? Now, look, we funded the Taliban when Biden pulled out and left billions of dollars of equipment there. That's kind of funding right there, right? The Taliban is not our friend. The Taliban is not the lesser of the two evils. No, they're evil in of themselves. The Taliban is garbage. They have undone literally any progress that we've made for the people in that country, which was minimum, admittedly. But at least we had some schooling systems going and stuff like that. They've undone all of that. And we're still giving them money. And if you think I'm mad, listen to this.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. As you know, as I've been championing the cause to quit paying the dadgum Taliban $40 million or $45 million, whatever it is, a week. We're giving them over $5 billion total since the Biden administration. Every week.
$5 billion. $5 fucking billion we've given to the Taliban. I don't know how else to express my annoyance and disappointment in this. You remember when the Taliban was the fucking enemy? I do. You remember when the Taliban were killing our soldiers? Not just in Afghanistan, but also in Iraq? I do. They're on the list of people who want to see us destroyed, but apparently will take our fucking money, which I don't blame them. I don't blame the Taliban for taking the check. Right? I would. I don't care. I'll tell you right now, if somebody was just giving me, without any sort of expectation of services in return, money, I don't give a shit how bad they hate me. Right? I don't care. What do I have to do for it? Absolutely nothing? Yeah, please. No, I'll take it in whatever bill. I don't need it in hundreds. You want to give it to me in pennies? Give it to me in pennies. My back will hurt. I'll figure it out. And we're just throwing money at the Taliban like they're the hot fucking stripper on stage. Just fucking making it rain, baby. Making it rain for the Taliban. But I digress.
Every week, we can't stop the bill. We can't get the bill passed in the Senate. It's taken me over a year to get it out of that damn house. And we got a fellow over in the Senate who was a staffer, but he was a former, I believe, ambassador to Afghanistan. And his name is what? Tom West. And apparently, our good friend Tulsi Gabbard and the Trump administration denied him his security clearance because of his alleged cozy relationship with the Taliban.
Now, he can't get the Senate to take this bill up because there is a staffer over there who had such a cozy relationship with the Afghanistan Taliban individuals that he can't get a security clearance. Make it fucking make sense. Why is he a staffer? Kick his ass out. He's one fucking guy. We're going to keep paying them $45 million for $1 billion for fucking one guy.
And so I suspect that's what's going on in the Senate. That's why they're stopping the bill. And people say, well, y'all are in the majority. Why don't you just act like it? Well, you got to have 60 votes over there to pass a bill of this significance. And that's the holdup. And we're going to continue to see this kind of nonsense until the country wakes up. And I don't care what party you're in. We shouldn't be paying these people any money. They will hate us for free. All they're going to do is use that money to come at us in a different area and kill Americans and kill our allies. This is what's going on. I'm letting you know about it. You can make the call. Call your senator if you've got a Democrat senator. This is beyond that.
And I appreciate him, like I said, putting these videos out because it matters. But why? And I don't care if he's holding up this bill or not, right? If this West guy is the reason the Senate won't touch this. If he had such a suspiciously close relationship with the Taliban over in Afghanistan when he worked for the ambassador over there, why is he a staffer right now for anybody in the Senate? If he can't pass a basic security clearance, get his ass out. You know how many jobs normal Americans who have nothing but good intentions can't get because they can't get a security clearance because they bounced a check 25 years ago, whatever. Just make stupid issue A, right? But this motherfucker is going to work, and I haven't looked it up, and maybe somebody in the chat room will look it up while we're on the air. He makes a hell of a salary for somebody who can't pass a top secret check. God, Sean, there's a lot of things involved in the top secret check. I don't give a shit. If that's a requirement and if we're paying $45 million a week, $5 billion since the Biden administration to the Taliban, and there's even a hint that this guy gets in the way, sorry, dude. I go make a fucking latte. I don't know what to tell you. It shouldn't even be an issue that gets brought up. Like, hey, yeah, no, we're That dude over there is costing us $45 million a week because he's a dick, and the guy he's working for is a dick, and they don't want to take up the bill because they're all dicks. But it's cool. We'll just keep throwing money at the Taliban, who, is probably going to use that to hurt Americans at some point. But as long as fucking Mr. West is happy, then why the fuck not? Like I said, at some point, people have to wake the fuck up and stop making phone calls. Start pressuring people. Look, we're off to a good start. We're getting rid of a lot of senators and representatives this year. They're retiring. We need a lot of the old guard to go the fuck away. But if I told you, I don't even know how to put it because it's such an exorbitant amount of money. The average person, I don't think, comprehends how much $45 million a week is. A fucking week. Here's a little hint. It could have paid for the NDAA in what? A year? Year and a half? My math could be a little bit wrong. But if Biden's been out of office for a year and we've already paid them $5 million, yeah, my math's off. Or no, $5 billion. No, they could have paid for the NDAA. And we're just giving it to people who fucking hate us and hate our existence. And they think your wives should have to be covered from head to toe. And if you don't agree with them, they'll take you out in front of the town square and put a bullet in your fucking head. They abuse children all the time without thinking twice about it. They don't believe we should exist on this planet, and we're paying them on top of all the equipment that we left them. Gotta move on. I'm just so angry now. Interesting goings on off the coast of Venezuela. The FBI and Homeland Security Investigations team, along with the U.S. Coast Guard, the Department of Defense, executed a seizure warrant against a crude oil tanker that has been sanctioned for years due to its illicit Iran and Venezuela oiling smuggling network. I'm okay with this, just so everybody knows. I'm saying it right now. The tanker's name has not been publicly released. Some reports the vessel is operating under aliases, but no formal confirmation exists. The ship was seized off Venezuela and is investigated for transportation of oil into terrorist-linked countries. Now, on one hand, we're doing shit like this, where we're stopping oil to terrorist-linked countries and funding countries that should not be funded by way of oil, right? They're selling it. It's part of the sanctions deal, yada, yada, yada. They have a warrant. This is all good. And look, I'm going to let you watch the video because it's kind of fun. I love shit like this. I love watching it. It's cool. Seeing America's best go to work. Boom, fast road team. I could make it to the ground, but I would never stand up again, just so everybody knows. Like, I could hold on long enough to get down, but I would be laying on that deck until they evac'd me. My knees would just crumble like toothpicks. Boom, go get them, boys. You got the warrant. It's all authorized. Go get them. So, yeah. I don't know how you feel about it. I think this is like on all this stuff. Look, I'm a huge fan of what we're doing with Venezuela right now. I said this prior when it came to the narco terrorist with Mexico. I'll say it with Venezuela. We're having too many people die of fentanyl. We're having too many illicit and illegal substances beyond fentanyl end up in this country, and it's killing America. The ones that aren't killing, it's ruining their life. And they have a absolute direct cause in their narco terrorism. Part of that funding, and Tren de Agua and all the other ones, FARC and all the other ones, they're all in the pocket with the Venezuelan government. It's not like the Venezuelan government doesn't know any of this shit's going on, right? The politicians are being paid off there. There's just there's no way that you can argue against that logic. And They're trading oil along with Iran to other countries that hate us, that have embargoes and all this other stuff, and they're doing it illegally. And part of interrupting the narco terrorism is interrupting the funding. Part of the funding is coming from boats like this. So I am very excited to see something like this happens. I don't want our troops in harm's way, but I understand it is an inherently dangerous job, and sometimes things like that need to.
In December 2020,
it also shows that the administration is putting the money where the mouth is when it comes to narco terrorism. And look, I only have 5 minutes left. I have another segment I want to hit before the break. But if you've ever worked in a place that is just drug ridden, where addicts are walking around barely able to care for themselves, the crimes that they will commit in order to get a fix, who they'll commit it against in order to get a fix, all that stuff. But most likely how it affects an addict's life and the family of the addict and the friends of the addict, and how many good, normal people get taken on a bad hit and on a first hit and stuff like that. It's a problem. It's a huge problem. Fentanyl's a huge problem. Drugs are a huge problem, and what comes along with it's a huge problem. And I think it's one of the biggest crises our country faces, on the list up there with the economy and immigration. And it's something we have to get under control. And I know the libertarians are probably losing their mind at me right now. Sorry. As BZ says, and I agree, I'm not a fan of hot and cold running drugs. I just am not. But either way, I was happy with what I saw today. Now, shrmedia.com. If you go over to the website, as I've said probably 45,000 times at this point, there's some great articles over there. I write some, Jersey Joe writes some, BZ writes some. This one was written by my friend Big E, who hosts Mission Ready Men Report here on SHR Media. And it's titled, and I'm just going to tease it for a second, and then I'm going to talk about the rest of the story. It is titled, "If TikTok ran a Senate race, it would look exactly like Jasmine Crockett." Folks, I read headlines all the time. I know we all try to jam in funny ones here and there. We all try to make each other laugh sometimes in our articles and our headlines. We stick stuff in to see if any of our partners pick it up and yell at us for it. But not yell at us, but give us a hard time over it. That title alone, and the article's great. You go read the whole article. The whole article's great. I encourage you to read it, like it, share it, love it, comment down below, do all those wonderful things. But it's talking about the Jasmine Crockett campaign to be senator. Now, Jasmine, being the angel that she is, had the worst, I think the absolute worst campaign kickoff that I can remember. I played for you Monday night the horrible lip sync rap thing that started it off, and she has been a hot mess. There's already people saying, wait a minute, you called half of Texas just a couple of years ago losers or whatever it was for voting for Trump. And then she goes on CNN, which she expects to be a safe place, and Jake Tapper actually didn't let her just get comfortable.
Let me ask you about a quote that you've made that has some Democrats worried about your ability to win statewide. In a December 2024 Vanity Fair profile, you talked about, quote, and I'm going to read a lot of the quote just to put it in the context, quote, "All the complexities within the Latino community, the immigration thing has always been something that has perplexed me about this community. It's basically like, I fought to get here, but I left y'all where I left y'all, and I want no more y'all to come here. If I wanted to be with y'all, I would stay with y'all, but I don't want y'all coming to my new home." It almost reminds me of what people would talk about when they would talk about kind of like slave mentality and the hate that some slaves would have for themselves. It's almost like a slave mentality that they have. Now, about the time that was published last year, around 1 million Latino voters in Texas were voting for Trump. Do they all have slave mentality?
Hold on a second, because before Jazzy talks, I want you to notate the lack of ghetto-ness in her voice suddenly, now that she's trying to be, a candidate again.
No, and that's not what that said at all, to be clear. It did not say that every Latino has that type of mentality.
No, but the ones that vote for people who believe in strong or Trump's immigration policies.
So I don't believe that the people that voted for Trump believe in what they're actually getting.
Let me ask you about a quote.
Wait, sorry, my bad. I didn't mean The people who actually voted for Trump don't believe what they're actually getting.
I'm going to read a lot of the quote just to put it in the context. Quote, all the complexities within the Latino policies.
So I don't believe that the people that voted for Trump believe in what they're actually getting.
Which makes zero sense whatsoever. Like, that was literally word salad on a Kamala level. She's toast. I said it Monday night. It's not going to get better for here, because I'll tell you right now. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I was going to get that Mission Ready Men in the chat. This is like her. She's going on CNN and getting this treatment, right? This isn't her on Fox News, Newsmax, somewhere where it's a little bit more combative. No. Jake Tapper, who has verbally massaged Democrats for years and given them every break on the planet, just tattooed her across the desk, not literally, with her own words. And maybe they're just, look, maybe it's part of the plan is just get all the shit out now so we can get past it and hopefully it doesn't come up anymore. But I'm going to tell you something right now. If this continues on any level for Jazzy, it ain't looking too good there, sweetheart. Back after this.
Ever dream of escaping the daily grind? At Escapist Travel and Tours, we make those dreams your reality. From breathtaking adventures to cultural immersions, we offer escapes tailored just for you. Let us take you to places where every moment feels like a new chapter in your life's adventure. Visit www.escapist.travel or call us today at 1-855-885-81776. Your escape awaits.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out 7 Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with 7 Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SA.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The final segment of tonight. One more time, I'm going to encourage you to like and subscribe wherever you're watching from. Please hit the like button on the episode. It helps so much with the algorithms. If you're watching on Rumble, if you're watching on X, if you're watching anywhere else and you want to join all the happy chatters like the one you see on your screen right now, BC Slim, who said, I know Trump has mostly exceeded my expectations with a few exceptions. Hell, I was happy just because Hillary would never be president. Everything else was gravy. And then he pointed out that, talking about Jake Tapper in the last segment, Jake Tapper did, in fact, call a black guy a white guy. That was interesting. Cosmic Bod said, Jake Tapper proved you don't have to be a dumb blonde to, in fact, be a dumb blonde. Oh, man. If you want to follow me on X, it's 2 Against Tyranny. 2 Against Tyranny. So I got 15 minutes left in the show tonight. This isn't going to take a full 15 minutes. So probably hit another couple topics and answer some more comments. But Tom Homan was on with Rob Schmidt, and he said something that raised some eyebrows, not necessarily in a bad way, but it got people's attention. I start playing the interview and then we'll discuss.
About Minnesota as well as a number of other issues. And sir, it's good to have you back on the show. Trump mentioning the Daily Mail reporting from 2020 that Ilhan Omar married her brother to get into the country. This was last week. Take a listen.
Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other.
That's factual. You know, we talk about Somalia. Not enough people talk about the state that Somalia is in. Somalia has one section of it that's under like a pseudo government that's kind of semi-organized, and the rest is run by warlords. There's a reason that the pirates were being pirates out of Somalia. They all love to say North Africa, but they were all out of Somalia. They're still out of Somalia. Pirates are still an issue in that region. It is a war zone. It is a constant war zone where the warlords rule all. It is just like you see on TV. You ask anyone that's been to Somalia, people are walking around with RPGs and AK-47s. There's constant gunfight. It does remind you a lot of downtown Chicago, just, you know, a better climate, really. But Somalia is not this wonderful place that all of these Somalis who came here try to pretend it is by talking about how lovely it is all the time. But I digress, and we can go back to the video.
Making billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. Mm-hmm. It's a fraud.
Calls that a fraud. It's a story that has never been successfully refuted, even though it's now a 5-year-old story. That's clearly a deportable offense.
That story has never been refuted beyond, I believe, her and a couple other people saying, oh, that didn't happen. There was no evidence to that. And the story goes that she had her citizenship, and I'm sure everyone in the chat will correct me if I'm wrong. Her brother needed her citizenship, so they got married in order to fraudulently gain his green card. And that's never been outright refuted. And I'm going to tell you right now where that story is going to go. If it is proven beyond a reasonable doubt, or if it's proven legally, they're going to turn around and say, well, it's not a big deal. She was just such a caring sister that she didn't want to see anything happen. And the rule of law was, you know, it's the spirit of the law and the letter. They're going to two-step on that fucking argument forever, and they're going to try to downplay it. But I'll let Tom Homan respond.
Is there an investigation into that?
You know, I just got advised by a fraud investigator the other day on that. I asked the question, who reviewed the file, and says, there was immigration fraud involved. The statute of limitations became an issue in the last 4 years when this was first brought up. Who was president? Who ran DOJ?
Listen to that. The statute of limitations starts to become an issue. We knew who was president for 4 years. It was Biden. We knew they were never going to do anything. Look at all the other things that they did nothing about. The statutes of limitations was one of the biggest tool or weapon, depending on how you want to look at it, that the Biden administration used for a lot of different things.
So pulling the records now, pulling the files, and we're looking at, but this fraud investigator, who I know personally, one of the best fraud investigators in HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, said there's no doubt he reviewed the file. So I'm running that down.
He said there's no doubt. Now, look, this is just an interview. This is not evidence. I understand that. We have yet to see all of the evidence. I understand that as well. But that's a pretty bold statement to say without believing that something going forward is not going to come about. And why is this an issue? Well, Ilhan Omar went from one of the poorest people in the world to one of the richest people in the country, top 1%er, in a matter of what, 7-8 years? Her brother has been paid millions by her. I believe it's the same brother that she married at one point. For bullshit jobs. We're looking at the investigations in Minnesota with fraud. We know it's already over $1 billion. Some estimates say it goes as high as $7 billion. Yep. There's also the $30 million worth out there that they're saying Omar is worth right now. Thank you, BZ. So many of the restaurants and businesses who committed the TPP fraud were personal friends of hers. I don't care what you think about me for the next statement, but I'm going to say this bluntly. Ilhan Omar is not a good human being. She apparently, if all of this is true, then it would prove to me, and it should prove to every human being out there, that she is doing exactly what many of us have accused numerous communities of doing when they come here. They come here, they try to absolutely, just like locusts, take every dollar they possibly can and either live high on the hog fraudulently. And I'm not saying every single one, but I'm talking about the groups that are being investigated, and with information like this out there that's potentially true. It's a problem. It's a problem. And she, I'll tell you right now, she's a terrible person, doesn't deserve America, let alone Congress. Yeah, mission ready men. I agree with that comment. If half of this is true, that statement would be accurate. And I know the defense is going to be racism, Islamophobia, you don't like women. This is going to be not just me, but it's going to be everybody. Anyone who agrees with the fact that she should be held accountable like every other citizen. And we know, how many videos have we seen recently of Democratic members of Congress getting themselves in trouble and then acting like they should be treated differently from everybody else? You had the Arizona representative with ICE earlier. You had the one in New Jersey who's being prosecuted. But I'm a congressperson. You don't have the right to break the law just because you're a member of fucking Congress. If any of this is true, and if I'll tell you right now, if they can prove she should be deported, she should be deported now, before everyone says she's going to go back to Somalia and she's going to live such a horrible life now. She'll hit the ground in Somalia and then she'll be in somebody else's country. And she'll be on CNN and she'll be on some other network and she'll be living high in the hog and yada, yada, yada. Her life will be just fine. But what it will do, if this is true, is show, at least on some level, that you can't bullshit your way into this country. You can't bullshit taxpayers out of money, and you can't bullshit your way into Congress. Now, one of the other things that really pisses me off in all of this, and there was the representative out of Maine last week, I can't think of her name, I shared it on X, who was shitting all over America. You have her who shits all over America all the time. She shits all over the people of this country. Anyone who does not think that she should be wearing a crown and in the White House as a princess, she shits on. And you see a lot of it. I mean, you go on social media and how many Somalis living in America are trashing this country. How many allegedly have bilked taxpayers out of a shitload of money and now they're in non-extraditable countries. When we talk about immigration and we talk about what a disaster the mass immigration was, and look, we ran into this in the 20s, 30s, and 40s when you had groups of Irish and Italians coming over and Poles and others who would move into their little community and they would have their little games that they would play back in their home country. And for the most part, once it was found out, it wasn't tolerated. And they still did it. Obviously, the mob's still around. The Irish gang in Boston was around. Like, there was still some of that shit that took root. But the numbers were not what you're not talking about millions and millions of people. You're not talking about all in one area. Look, when the Irish and the Italians came over, they came over to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Boston. It was all the Northeast, but they're spread out a little bit. All their shenanigans were smaller outside of the Italian mob. The Italian mob, they had all the different families. Yes, I will acknowledge all of that. And they were into some dirty ass shit and made a ton of money. I will acknowledge that. But they did it in a very different way. They were stealing and robbing from other people for the most part. They got some taxpayer money. The scams that we're seeing now, out of many, many, many of millions that came in under the Biden administration, is they're getting rich off of free taxpayer money, off of broken systems, off of systems that are easily playable. And once a few of them figure it out, they start telling all their friends. I'm sure, I don't know if they have after mosque picnics, but they were sharing that information, right? They absolutely don't give a shit about this country. A lot of the Irish and Italians at least fought for this country in World War II and still love the country and glad they weren't back in the country that they were in, even though they were doing their shit. But they at least assimilated and tried to be American on some level. You're not seeing that in a lot of these communities. And it's not just the Somali communities. They're just under the microscope right now because they need to be under the microscope right now. But they play games to get in. Once they get in, they play games to get taxpayer money. Once they get caught, the Democrats come to their defense saying, you don't know how hard it is. They shit all over this nation and all the people that built this nation going back generations, not just the ones who are here now. They ignore all the good things. Look, Ilhan Omar was the one who was, correct me if I'm wrong, said 9/11, some bad people did some bad things. That was her description of 9/11, right? She has never once said, and if anyone can prove me wrong, put the quote, send me the quote, the number 2 against tyranny on X. I want to thank the service members of the U.S. Army who died during the Black Hawk Down incident, who were trying to protect food that were going to the starving Somalis. I've never heard that. And that's why we were there for the most part. We were trying to keep the peace, and we were protecting food deliveries to make sure that the warlords, like you saw with Hamas, and we've seen time and again, weren't taking all of that food and starving the people so they could use it to barter with and for control. Never seen her be thankful for that. I've actually never heard her say a good thing about this nation that didn't include herself involved in it. And that's the problem. That's the problem that we're facing, and not just with Ilhan Omar, but with the millions and millions of illegals that flew in and ran in and dove in and jumped in and hid in and swam in and whatever under the Biden administration. When we talk about immigration, when I talk about immigration, when the others at SHR and all over the place talk about immigration being a huge problem, why deportations need to continue. We're up to 2 million. It's a good start. Got to keep going. This is why. You want to fix the economy in this fucking nation? You have to get rid of all the people, and I'm not talking about the actual disabled Americans. I'm not talking about people that need social services. I'm talking about the fucking leeches who just suck this country dry and who honestly believe that we just have endless amounts of money to throw at them. $38 trillion, $38.5 trillion is our current debt. We need to fucking take that seriously as a nation. We need to take that seriously. And look, you are not any of the things that they accuse you of being if you say we have a problem with immigration in this country. You're not any of those things they accuse you if you say we really have to investigate the wrongdoings in this country, no matter who does it. Look, you look at how many times Trump got falsely prosecuted and investigated, right? Never mind the assassination attempts. And the Democrats were completely on board with that. But now when there's evidence that she could be in this country illegally because she could have violated her citizenship and her green card and how she got into the yada, 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 and all the fraud after the fact that's potentially there that she could be involved with, there might be a there, Democrats. And that's something you got to deal with just as well as everybody else. Look, that's going to be it for me, folks. I'll be back Monday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the SHI Media Network and simulcast with our good friends over at KLIN Radio. Please check out every Monday and Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast. You have the Reaver Common Sense Jersey Joe, he hasn't been on the air, but he has been posting some kick-ass articles on shimedia.com. So please go over there and check it out and show him some love. He fucking deserves it, man. But when he is on air, it's Monday and Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East, right here on SHI Media. Mission Ready Men, Tuesday, Thursday mornings, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. He also writes articles on SHI Media that are fantastic. And BZ, the bulbous one himself, every Tuesday, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. He's contributed here and there too, some articles. So you're going to check and watch out for those. And on Sundays, and I know this is going to change before he yells at me in the chat room, but I believe this Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 in the East Coast, you have the Cosmic Bard, the Lost Wanderer, who's on our YouTube channel, and we're very thankful for. That's going to be it for me. I hope you have a great rest of your week and your weekend. Look, it's only 15 days to Christmas. You better get your shopping done. Talk to you soon.